Hi everyone, it's Lara here from LK Yoga, and today we're going to be doing some gentle back bends and binds. So don't be put off by the title of the class, there's going to be lots of options for everyone. So let's get started. So today what we're going to need is hopefully a mat and block or equivalent. No other props are necessary. So we're going to start class today in a seated position. So whatever is comfortable for you, whether that's kneeling, just sitting cross-legged on the mat. Perhaps you want to use a block or a little bolster or even a pillow to raise the hips slightly, that's fine as well. We're just going to take a moment, taking the palms to face up, gently rocking left and right on the sit bones, going tall through the spine, rolling the shoulders up, back and down, going tall all the way to the tip of the crown of the head, and just gently drawing the chin in towards the chest. I'm going to close the eyes if that feels good for you. And just taking a few moments here to come into the breath. So if you can, breathing nice and deeply, trying to lengthen the inhales and exhales with each breath. Feeling how on the inhale we grow a little bit taller and the ribs open, the lungs expand to accommodate the breath. And just using the exhale to let go of any tension you might be able to seek out through the body. Just taking the next 45 minutes to focus in on yourself, and just leaving any other parts of your day behind, leaving them off the mat and just focusing on you for now. From here, we'll gently open the eyes and just take the hands to rest on the knees with the palms facing down now. And start to do some shoulder rolls. So you want to get the shoulders nice and warm if we're going to be doing some binding and back bending today. So nice big exaggerative movements here. I think I just made up a word there. So you get what I mean, just really big circles with the shoulders. If the torso wants to move as well, then that's fine. And they're reversing the direction. So you should feel as you're moving the shoulders that you get some movement through the upper back and the chest as well. That's absolutely fine. Then coming back to a neutral position, we're going to take our cat-cow first, seated. So on the inhale, we're going to press the chest forward, we're going to lift it up nice and high. And as we exhale, we're going to round through the back, bring the chin in towards the chest. So I'm just going to twist to the side so you can see me through this motion if you want to keep going. So we're going to come forward, lift the chest, draw the shoulders down the back. As we exhale, round and sink back. So we want to try and get as extreme in either direction as you can. It's really nice sometimes to just do a little bit of seated cat-cow. Something a little bit different. And it's quite a nice sensation too. Just a few more here. And then when you're ready, coming back to center, and take the arms up overhead, interlace the fingers and just press palms towards the sky. Don't worry if you can't interlace the fingers, you can just hold onto a wrist instead. Just try and keep the shoulders drawn down just past the ears. And coming into a gentle twist. So left hand comes to the outside of the right knee, right hand comes behind. Inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, twisting, gazing over the right shoulder. Breathing deeply through the twist. And then slowly coming back to center, taking the right hand to the outside of the left knee, left hand comes behind. Inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, twisting, gazing over the left shoulder. And then back towards center. From here, coming to our tabletop position, so you should be quite familiar with this by now. Hands are roughly under the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And come back to our cat-cow motion now, so rounding through the back. And then coming through to our cow, drawing the shoulders down the back, creating a nice deep valley between the shoulders as well. So just moving in your own time with the breath here. Just doing whatever feels good for you today. Just comparing how this pose feels in the tabletop position versus seated. You should feel that you can get a little bit more motion through the spine here. Both should feel pretty good though. When you're ready, we come back to our tabletop position. From tabletop, we're just going to come into our thread the needle. So we're going to lift the left arm nice and high, extending the hand up towards the ceiling, and then drawing the arm underneath you. The left shoulder comes down to the mat. So remember, if this feels enough, then you can just stay here. If you want to add in some extra options, you can try extending the right leg behind you, pressing the heel away. Maybe walking the right arm up overhead towards the left. Just get a bit of a stretch going down the outside of the right side of the body here too. Totally up to you with whatever options you'd like to include here. And then drawing the right knee down and the right hand back in. Then take the left arm back up towards the ceiling and then placing it back on the mat. Coming over to the other side, we'll lift the right arm up nice and high now. And then threading the arm through underneath you, moving your knee props out the way. And take the right shoulder down to the mat. Remember, you can just rest here, or if you want, you can extend the left leg, press the heel away, and maybe walk the arm up overhead, coming over towards the right. So they're just extra options. Completely up to you whether you'd like to take them or not. And then gently taking the left knee down, drawing the left arm back in, right arm comes back up towards the ceiling, and then placing it back on the mat. From here, we're going to tuck the toes and find our way to our first downward facing dog. So we're going to keep the knees really bent for now, just gently pedaling out through the feet, trying to keep a slight bend in the elbows here, twisting the hips. Whatever feels good for you, getting some motion going through the body. That's our primary focus right now. Taking one heel down and the other. And then when you're ready, we're going to slowly walk the feet in towards the hands, coming to our ragdoll at the top of the mat. So take hands to opposite elbows, we're going to deeply bend through the knees and try and lift the hips up towards the ceiling. So you might be quite stiff at the moment, so we really are bending the knees super deep. You might even feel like you're slightly squatted. And to counteract that, you are still trying to lift the hips up towards the sky. We're going to let the back of the neck be nice and long, the shoulders heavy, just letting gravity do its thing on the upper body here. Then taking the hands down towards the toes on the inhale, rolling up through the spine. We're going to circle the arms nice and wide, and as the hands face in towards each other at the top, we're going to take the left arm down the side of the body, draw the right arm over coming into a side stretch. I'm going to twist to face you so you can see. If you want, you can take the left hand and just draw the right arm a little bit further over if that feels good for you. Just breathing deeply with whichever option that you choose. Trying to keep the feet still feeling nice and active. And then coming back towards center. From here, we'll take the hands into prayer, exhaling, folding forward. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift. On the exhale, lowering back down. Rolling up through the spine one more time, circling the arms up overhead, and this time we're going to take the stretch on the other side. So the right arm comes down the side at the first, the left arm comes up and over, so just getting a lovely stretch all the way from the tips of the fingers on the left hand down to the base of the foot. Remember, you can take the right arm, just gently draw the left arm a little bit further over if that feels good for you too. And then slowly coming back to center, drawing the hands to prayer, exhaling, folding forward. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift, and on the exhale, folding back down. One more time, rolling up through the spine, circling the arms nice and wide, and this time we're going to draw the arms behind us, so we're going to interlace the fingers if we can, squeeze the shoulders together and lift the chest. So we're really trying to open up across the chest. We had a bit of opening across the insides of our shoulders here to prepare us for our binds later in class. And taking the hands back overhead, drawing them into prayer, and exhaling, folding all the way down. On the inhale, we're going to find a little halfway lift, straightening out through the back. And we're going to step the left foot back here to a modified crescent moon lunge. So we draw the left knee down. We're going to take the arms up overhead, and we're going to try and sink the hips forward, but at the same time, as best you can, work on tucking the pelvis under you slightly. So we want to sink into our hips, but we're not leaning forward as well. So try and keep yourself nice and upright. Belly button is drawing towards the spine. We've got nice active fingers and an active foot here. So we're not clawing with the toes. You can feel the inner arch lift and the toes are relaxed. Drawing the hands to prayer, twisting towards the right. The left elbow comes to the outside of the right knee. Try to gaze over the right elbow towards the ceiling in that direction. Still trying to sink the hips down and breathe deeply if you can. And then when you're ready, we're going to take the arms back overhead. And then hands frame the front foot, and we're going to draw the legs straight, coming into a half split position. So we're going to try and draw the right hip back slightly here. Then take hold of a block in front of us, try and keep the torso lifted. And we're going to just keep the hips level, slight bend in the knee, getting a bit of a stretch out through the back of the right leg. I really like doing this at the beginning of class as a little sequence. It really helps us to get warm, particularly if we've been seated all day or not moving very much. Then from here, moving any blocks out the way, rolling onto the toes again. Arms come up overhead. And then hands frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank, gently lowering the knees down. The chest comes all the way to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders and taking 3 rounds of cobra. So as we inhale, we're going to peel the chest off the mat, lifting nice and strong, drawing the chest through. Exhaling, lowering down, taking one cheek to the mat, giving the hips a wiggle. Just rocking them left and right, releasing any tension in the lower back. And then inhaling, lifting the chest again. So you don't need to necessarily come any higher. Just trying to accommodate the movement from the lift of the chest and squeezing the shoulder blades just ever so slightly behind you. Lowering back down, taking the opposite ear to the mat and gently rocking the hips left and right. And then third and final time on the inhale, just gently lifting the chest. Then when you're ready, lowering back down. Then tuck the toes and find our way back to downward facing dog. So in downward facing dog, we want our fingers spread. We're going to press into the tip of each finger, press into the thumb, press into the base of the hand, just keeping a pocket of air under the knuckles here. When you're ready, we're going to walk the feet in towards the hands again and just take a very brief forward fold. So remember, if you've got a block handy, you can take the hands to rest on the block here, or perhaps you can take the hands to rest on the floor, or maybe the backs of the legs. If you don't have a block and can't quite reach the floor, then that's absolutely fine too. So you've still got quite a deep bend in the knees, and we're still trying to lift the hips up behind us. Then when you're ready, we're going to find a halfway lift, and then step the right leg back. So we're coming to our crescent lunge on the other side, drawing the right knee down to the mat, drawing the arms up overhead, and sinking into the hips on this side. So you might find one side is tighter than the other. That's perfectly normal. Always have one side that causes us maybe a little bit more grief than the other. Don't expect both sides to always feel equal. Drawing the hands to prayer and twisting towards the left this time, gazing over the left elbow up towards the ceiling in that direction. So on the inhale, we try to prolong through the spine, and on the exhale, we're going to twist a little further if we can. We're just looking for that movement. If you can't twist further, don't worry. Just always have some sort of inquisitive nature towards whether you can or not. And then taking the arms back overhead. Hands frame the front foot and gently drawing the opposite leg straight this time. So if you don't have a block and you feel like you're sort of a little bit unbalanced, trying to have the hands coming down towards the mat, you can always take the hands to the hips, or maybe even very gently rest them on the top of the legs. There's always lots of options here for you. If you do have a block, this is a really great option, just keeping it in line with the right leg here. And then slowly rolling onto the toes of the left foot, moving the block out the way. Hands come down to frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank, just briefly holding here, pressing into the heels, trying to feel nice and strong, keeping the hips down and the belly engaged. The knees come down, lowering the chest all the way to the floor. So from here we come straight into our shoulder openers to make sure we're nice and warm as we're going to start to prepare towards our binds. So we have the left arm at 90 degrees, the right arm at 90 degrees to start. My left ear is down on the mat, and then I'm going to draw the right leg up and over. So remember, you can use the hand just to sort of press yourself over ever so slightly here. Hopefully you're starting to get a little bit more familiar with this pose now. So maybe just trying like moving the arm up slightly or down slightly, that's the left arm, sorry, the one you're facing away from, and just see how that affects the stretch. And find a position that works best for you. And then slowly coming back to centre over to the other side. So we've got the right elbow in line with the right shoulder. I'm going to twist the head so that the right ear is down, and then drawing the left leg up and over, just coming into the stretch on the other side. So remember, you can just have the left hand resting, or if you want, you can take it nice and wide, taking the arm relatively straight and just using it to press into the floor and draw yourself deeper into the opening position. And then coming back to center, taking the hands under the shoulders. On the inhale, gently lifting to cobra. And then on the exhale, lowering back down. Tucking the toes and making your way back to downward facing dog. So just taking a moment again in downward facing dog. Hopefully we're starting to feel a bit warmer. So we can lift the hips a little bit higher. That's our focus. Trying to press into the fingers, into the base of the hands. Trying to keep the ears roughly around sort of bicep level. We're gazing towards our toes rather than towards our hands or our groin. On the inhale here, we're going to lift the left leg nice and high and then step forward to warrior one. So left foot comes to the top of the mat. I'm going to turn the right foot to 45 degrees behind us. We're trying to keep the feet about hips width. That's how I tend to teach this pose. If you want to take the feet narrow into a more traditional stance, you can. I feel it's most accessible with the feet just slightly wider here. Trying to twist to face forward, and then we're going to take the hands behind the back and just hold on to opposite elbows. So you're going to try and draw the shoulders down, keep the chest lifted and the belly engaged. If you can, draw the left knee a little bit deeper into the bend. And when you're ready, we're going to find our way into a pyramid pose variation. So we're going to step the right foot in slightly so we can draw both legs straight, keeping the feet facing the same direction. Just make sure the hips are facing forward here. And I'm going to start to fold over the front leg. We're not going to come very far today. We're just going to come slightly off about halfway. We want to feel like the back is still straight wherever you are. So as you can see, I'm not getting very deep into this pose today. I'm trying to focus on keeping the back straight. As soon as I start to come a little bit deeper, my back will start to round. But I want to focus on keeping the shoulders back. So we're working them, getting them prepped for our binds. And then gently rebending the front knee, taking the arms up overhead. And then hands freeing the front foot, stepping back to a plank position. And then taking a modified vinyasa, drawing the knees down, lowering the chest all the way to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, gently lifting to cobra. And then exhaling, lowering down, tucking the toes, and finding your way back to downward facing dog. Nice deep breath in downward facing dog. And then when you're ready this time, lifting the right leg. So right leg comes up behind you, and then it steps through to the top of the mat. Taking the left foot to about 45 degrees behind you. Arms come up overhead. I'm trying to twist the hips to face forward here. Great work, everyone. And again, we're going to take the hands behind the back. Try and take the opposite elbow on top this time. So whatever feels a little bit weird, that's probably the right way. I'm going to try and bend the right knee and keep both hips facing forward. Trying to keep the heel and the back foot pressing down. Remember, the back foot's out at about 45 degrees. I'm just staying here for a moment before we come into pyramid. So as we come into pyramid, we're going to shorten the stance. I'm going to make sure the hips are level, facing forward, and start to fold over the front leg. So again, only coming as deep as you feel. Then you keep the stretch across the shoulders stay open and drawn back. And also that the back is nice and straight. So we don't need to come super deep, that's absolutely fine. That's not what we're trying to focus on here. It's a great work, just staying with it. And then gently stepping back to warrior one, taking the arms overhead. From here, we're going to step to the top of the mat. Now draw the hands into prayer, exhale, fold forward. On the inhale, find a halfway lift, straightening out through the back. On the exhale, fold back down. We're going to roll up through the spine, stacking the shoulders. Circle the arms nice and wide, keeping the hands facing in, and from here coming to eagle arms. So draw the left arm down and the right arm on top, like we did the other week. And we're going to try and interlace the hands. I'm just going to twist to show you. If this feels too much, you can just take the hands to rest or hold on to the shoulders instead. We'll try and lift the elbows so they're in line with our gaze and press the arms forward here. Keep the shoulders relaxed as best you can. This is a great prep pose to make sure our shoulders are perfectly warm. And then we're just going to take the arms wide, give them a wiggle, and switch over sides. So taking the arms up overhead. This time the right arm comes underneath, the left arm on top. I'm going to interlace the hands. I'm going to press the palms away, draw the shoulders back. Breathing deeply. And then taking them wide one more time. Swooping them up overhead, drawing the hands into prayer. Exhaling, folding forward. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift. And then on the exhale, lowering down, taking the hands to frame the feet, stepping back to a plank pose and briefly holding here. So try and create a little droning sensation through the back now. So you can take the knees down if you find plank quite strenuous, which most of us do, so feel free to do that. And around through the back here, trying to keep the bum down. So you should be able to see I'm creating a bit of a doming shape between the shoulders. And then we come back to a neutral position. So I'm just going to do that one more time. Helping me to build a bit of strength between the shoulders, lowering back down. Then taking the knees down if you haven't already, lowering all the way to the mat. Hands come in line with the shoulders, inhaling gently, lifting to cobra, and then exhaling, lowering back down. From here, finding our way back to downward facing dog. So great work, everyone. It's finally time for some binds. So on the inhale, we're going to lift the left leg nice and high, taking the heel up towards the ceiling. We're going to step to the top of the mat and twist to face the side. So we're going to set ourselves up for a wide angle forward fold. I'm going to turn you around. I'm going to turn myself around so you don't have to stare at my bum. So you want the feet to be reasonably wide, but you still want to feel very grounded through the feet. So we don't need to necessarily be feeling a stretch to the inside of our legs here. That's not our focus. Now perhaps taking the hands to the floor in the centre of the mat in front of you, or hands to a block if that feels a little bit more accessible for you. It's how I generally like to practice it, so we can keep the back nice and long here. Now we take the left arm up towards the ceiling. If that feels enough, please feel free to stay here. Alternatively, you can take the left arm behind the back and just interlace the fingers through to the inside of the right hip here. So this is our first binding position. And if it feels a little bit much trying to hook the fingers to the inside of the hip, you can just take it to rest on the back instead. That's fine as well. And then taking the left arm back overhead and switching over sides. The left hand comes down, right arm comes up nice and high. And then you can just draw the arms to interlace through to the inside of the left hip even. Just trying to draw the shoulder open. So we're trying to draw the right shoulder up towards the ceiling here. Remember, this is only an option, you don't have to come this deep. And then taking the right arm back towards the ceiling and placing both hands on the mat or on the block. Drawing the core in nice and strong, we're going to find our way back to standing and come into warrior two. So we're going to twist the left foot to face the top of the mat. Don't worry if you're facing the other way on your mat, as long as you can see the screen, that's fine. And we want the left foot forward. So try and keep the torso nice and upright. The back foot, remember, is at 90 degrees to the front foot, so it's parallel with the short edge of the mat, and the front foot is on the center line. Turning the front palm and reversing the warrior, taking the left arm up overhead. And then exhaling, coming forward to extended side angle. Reaching out through the tips of the right fingers here, trying to press the right foot down. Nice and energetic. And then from here, option to try a bind pose. So we're going to take the right arm behind the back and then just gently interlace the fingers through to the inside of the front hip, or rest the hands on the centre of the back. So I'm going to turn around so you can see me here. So I either have my hands sort of coming all the way to the inside of this hip crease, or I just rest it here on the back. I'm going to try and keep the right shoulder nice and open. Keep myself lifted here. And then when you're ready, taking the right arm back overhead and finding your way back into warrior two. Taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank, and this time gently lowering down. Chest comes all the way to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, gently lifting to cobra. And as we exhale, we'll lower down and find our way back to child's pose. Just taking a little moment in child's pose. Knees can be wide or they can be together. Now we're going to walk our hands over towards the left. So stretching out down the right hand side of the body here, trying to wrap the right shoulder down as best you can. And then coming back to centre, over to the other side, walking over to the right, stretching out down the left side of the body. And then coming back to centre one more time, spreading the hands, tucking the toes, lifting the hips, coming back into our downward facing dog. On the inhale this time, lifting the right leg nice and high and stepping it through to the top of the mat. So we're going to find our way back into our wide angle forward fold. And this time I'm going to come a little bit deeper, so we're not going to do the binds again. We're just going to walk the feet maybe slightly wider this time so you can feel a gentle stretch through the insides of the legs. And we're going to gently press ourselves back into the heels. So you should feel like the hips are lifting up behind you, you're pressing your weight backwards, and a gentle stretch through the hips. So we're not trying to give ourselves a groin injury, we don't need to be working towards the splits. We're just coming as deep as feels sort of comfortable. Remember, you can keep the hands on the block as well here too, if that feels better for you. Yogi's choice. I'm going to slowly walk the feet in. We're going to engage through the core, drawing the belly button to the spine to stand up and come into warrior two on the other side. So the right foot's going to twist to face forward. We're going to gaze out over the front hand, trying to keep the shoulders above the hips at first here. We may lean forward slightly as we turn the front palm to come into our reverse warrior position. And as we exhale, we're going to draw the left arm up overhead, coming into extended side angle on the other side. So again, remember we've got this bind option. I'm going to stay facing you this time so you can just see how I'd like you to try and draw the shoulder back. So take the left arm up overhead. If you want to lift out the pose slightly to draw the hand in, that's fine. Remember, you can take the left hand to rest on the small of the back as well. Now, I just want you to have a look at my shoulder here. So I want to keep the left shoulder nice and open so the shoulder faces up towards the ceiling here. You can gaze up towards the ceiling as well or look down towards the foot, whatever feels most comfortable for you. But try not to kind of round and hunch the shoulder forward if you can help it. And taking the left arm back overhead here and coming into warrior two for one more moment. Hands then frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank. Now briefly hold plank, we're just going to press onto the toes and then press the heels back. And then gently lowering the knees down and coming into a kneeling position at the end of our mat. You can come towards centre actually if you want, that's more than fine. So we're now kneeling. Remember, whenever you're kneeling, you can take a block and just sit on the block, and this just means that we're going to transfer the weight onto the block rather than onto the tops of our feet if it feels a little bit uncomfortable to be kneeling. From here, we're going to come into camel. So we're going to tuck the toes and stand up on our knees, as it were. So camel is sort of our first slightly larger back bend that we're doing today. Remember, we have been doing poses like cobra to open up into our back bending sequence. We've also opened the shoulders through binding. So now we're going to have a go at our camel pose. So take the hands to the lower back. We're going to draw the elbows together behind the back. And we're going to start to press the hips forward and lift the chest up towards the ceiling. You can let the head go, relaxing the neck if that feels comfortable for you. Generally, I keep just a little bit of tension through the neck. That just feels a little bit more secure and comfortable for me. Really is your own choice and preference here. Then to come out of the pose, we're going to grow nice and tall, drawing the belly button in, coming back to centre, and then coming back to kneeling on our block. Just taking a couple of twists between rounds. We're going to take the left hand to the outside of the right knee, right hand comes behind, inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, finding a twist. As you can see, I'm sitting on a block so my hand doesn't quite reach the floor, that's fine. I'm still getting a twisting sensation through my spine, which is what we're aiming for here. Oh, pardon me, hiccups. Take the right hand to the outside of the left leg, the left hand comes behind, so if I wasn't on a block, I would be able to get the hand to the floor, but it doesn't really matter. We're just trying to get a little bit of a ringing action through the spine. And then coming back towards centre, tucking the toes one more time. So if that felt enough, just coming into this variation of camel, that's fine. If you'd like to come a bit deeper this time, I'll give you another option, so that's totally up to you. I'm going to take the hands to the bum, and we're going to draw the elbows in behind you. We're going to press the hips forward, lift the chest up towards the ceiling if you can. Really great work here. If this feels enough, stay here. If you'd like to take the hands down to the heels as well, keep lifting and opening across the chest, then that's great. Remember, you don't have to come any deeper if the last variation of the pose felt enough for you. Just holding here for one more moment. And then growing nice and tall, coming back up to centre and back down to kneeling. So from our kneeling pose, we're now going to lie on our mat. We're going to come into our bridge pose. So if you have a wheel practice, feel free to take wheel as part of this series. We have opened the chest and done some sort of mild back bend so you're well prepped for the pose. However, if you've never done wheel before or you've not done it in a while, please wait till you can go to a class and have a teacher or some friends sort of assist you in the pose, because you could hurt your shoulders or something trying it without that. So I'm not endorsing practicing wheel without help or support. But if you would like to come into bridge with me, then that would be fabulous. So come into bridge, we're going to take the heels to about hand and wrist distance away from the bum. And take the hands wide. If you want, you can hold onto the side of the mat here too. I'm going to draw the shoulders underneath us, interlace the hands, and press into the heels, lift the hips and the chest up off the floor. Breathing nice and deeply, opening through the top side of the body here. If you want to go to the tiptoes, you can. If you want to practice your one-legged wheel, you can too. Today I'm just going to cue these options. I really want you to focus on lifting the chest and the hips up here. Gently releasing the hands and tucking the shoulders. Drawing yourself all the way back down to the mat and just gently rocking the legs left and right here. Really great work. Not too many poses left in class, so just staying with it. Well done, everyone. Coming back towards center, and when you're ready, taking another round of bridge, pressing into the heels, lifting the hips up off the mat, tucking the shoulders underneath you, interlacing the hands, lifting the chest, lifting the hips. Really great work. Breathing deeply. Don't forget to breathe on these poses. Just holding for another moment. Tiptoes too if you'd like. And then gently drawing the heels down, releasing the hands and the shoulders, going all the way back to the mat. So we're going to draw the knees in here and have a quick little bit of core work, nothing too crazy today. So we're going to extend the legs up towards the ceiling. Don't worry if the legs aren't straight. We're going to take the hands up as well. And we're just going to do 5 little lift pulses. So I'm going to squeeze my belly down towards the mat, and everything else I'm going to try and lift up towards the ceiling. So I'm going to lift the hips up too if I can as well. So on the inhale, I'm going to prep and then lift up, just holding and seeing if you can come a little higher, and then letting go. Well done. So that's just 1. I'm going to do 4 more if you can. So lifting for the second rep, and lowering back down. Great work. Just 3 more to go. So lift up 1 more time, and then exhaling, lowering down, and 2 more, lifting up high, and lowering down. Final time, lifting up and squeezing, and then gently lowering down. Great work. Taking the knees wide for a moment. And then when you're ready, just taking the hands to the outside of the knees, doing some little circles. So we're going to take the knees out towards the sides on your circle journey. And then reversing the direction. And then gently rocking your way up towards seated. So we're now going to come into just a seated twist. We're going to extend the right leg out in front of us. We're going to take the left leg up and over. We're going to take the arm around the knee. I'm going to explain why in a minute. So I want you to try and keep the arm slightly lower than the knee, in fact. We're going to take the left hand behind. We're going to grow tall. We're going to twist and gaze over the left shoulder. So before you change to perhaps take the elbow to the outside of the leg, I want you to make sure you can feel a bit of a stretch here. So really draw the leg in, really squeeze it in with the arm here. It's a lot easier if you use the hand, try and stay tall. If you want to, you can then draw the elbow round as well. But if you can no longer feel the stretch here, just today, stick with this variation of the pose. There's always a benefit of taking one variation over the other, so it's good to mix them all up. And when you're ready, we can come back towards center, over to the other side. We extend the left leg out now, and the right leg's going to come up and over. So like we did on the other side, I'm just going to take the arm round. I'm going to try and squeeze the knee in towards my chest, and then grow tall and gaze over the right shoulder. And then slowly coming back towards centre. So our last back bend we're going to have a go at today is bow. I'm going to try a couple of different variations of it, and then that's all the hard work done for you today. So we're going to come to lie on our fronts. I'm going to try one-legged bow either side, taking turns, and then we'll try the full pose. So you can stick with any variation. At any point you've had enough, just come to Sphinx. So So to come to space, we're going to draw the elbows under the shoulders, but draw the chest through and gaze forward. So that's an option to stay there if you'd rather. So the first side we're going to try is we're going to lift the left leg. So I'm just going to take the right arm to my side. I've got the elbow bent and my shoulder is maybe slightly in front of my elbow, but they're kind of in a line here. That's going to support me. I'm going to take the left hand to the outside of the left leg, and then on the inhale, I'm going to lift the foot up towards the ceiling to lift the leg off the mat. So I'm going to press the foot into the hand. I'm going to draw the shoulder back to let myself lift. So I'm going to press and lift. I've got the right arm just gently supporting me here, trying to lift the leg as high as I can. Just holding for a moment, trying to stay breathing, and then gently coming back down to the mat. Just giving the leg a bit of a wiggle, coming over to the other side. I've got my left hand drawn in towards my side, or side in line with my head, to try and keep me nice and stable. As I come over to the other side, so the right hand now comes to the outside of the right foot. So I'm going to press the hand into the left hand into the mat. I'm going to kick the leg up and just use the draw of the hand to lift the chest and the shoulder off the mat as well. Just holding here for a moment. Great work. And then gently lowering down. So if you want now having a go at the full variation of the pose, I'm going to take my hands to the outside of my feet. And when I'm ready, I'm going to try and lift. So I'm going to lift the feet up nice and high. I'm going to try and lift the chest off the mat, lift the legs as well. Really, really strong, powerful pose. Great work. And then gently releasing and letting go. Just rocking the hips gently left and right here. To finish off class, we're going to take our pigeon pose on either side and then come to our legs against the wall, final position for our relaxation. Get a little bit of extra stretch through the hips. So when you're ready, gently pressing back to downward facing dog. Lifting the hips nice and high. Maybe having a quick pedal through the feet. Giving the hips a twist, whatever feels good for you. Then when you're ready, we're going to lift the left leg up towards the ceiling. I'm going to draw the shin more or less parallel to the mat here. So I'm going to draw the left knee down. If you want, you can draw the foot in slightly towards the right hip. And then this right leg behind me, I'm just going to draw it back. I'm going to try and sink into my hips. If you're quite high and lifted up on this side, you can just sneak a block in under there and sit on a block as well. That's absolutely fine. We come down to the forearms, maybe even take the head to rest on the back of the hands. We're just going to spend a minute here in pigeon today, as it is quite a short class. There's still loads of benefit just coming into this pose for a short period of time. Just trying to make sure the left toes feel nice and relaxed. That's the toes on the front foot. It's really common for you to sometimes feel quite tense on that foot, so we want to try and relax and let go. If you can, just try to slow the breathing now down as well. Doing everything you can to just let the body relax. You just got another 10 seconds or so here. And when you come over to the other side. So when you're ready, slowly coming back to the hands. I'm going to lift the left leg up behind us. Just give it a bit of a wiggle as you go, pressing back to downward facing dog. This is our last downward facing dog, so just try to enjoy it. On the inhale, lifting the right leg nice and high. And then drawing the shin parallel to the top of the mat, so the right knee is coming over to the right arm. You might want to draw the foot in slightly towards the left hip and drawing the left leg back to help you square off through the hip and lift the chest. So as you come down, remember you can also always use a prop, so you can just draw the arms to rest on a block if that suits you. Just taking any variation of the pose that works. I like to stay on my forearms most of the time. You know, I can come deeper. I do feel like it's just nice sometimes to sit in the pose here. You get so much benefit from this pose, and any option you take, so it's always worth just spending a minute or so here when you have the time. So as you're here in your pigeon, I'm just going to talk you through our final pose. So our final pose today will be legs up against the wall, which is a really lovely restorative pose, which will also help us get a little bit of additional flexibility in the legs, helping us work on our sort of wider splits variation. Don't worry, that sounds scary. We don't need to come anywhere near that. If you don't have any small space, even if it's against a sofa or against a radiator, that's fine. I'm just going to briefly show you the other variation that we can use. So when you're ready to come back to the hands, I'm going to gently roll onto the right hip and just draw the legs in front of us, maybe giving them another little bit of a wiggle. So if you don't have anywhere to hand that you can draw your legs up against the wall, then instead I'd love you to come into a wide angle forward fold, taking the legs nice and wide, lifting the chest, perhaps sitting on a block, and just walking the hands out in front of you. So you don't want to come too deep if you're choosing this option, because we're going to try and use the pose as a nice gentle restorative pose. We don't want too much active force in the pose, just relaxing and letting gravity do the work. If you do have a radiator, a sofa or a wall handy, I want you to draw one hip in really close towards it, as close as you can get on one side. And then you're going to lie down on your back and just swing the legs up to rest against the radiator. So if you draw that hip in first, you can get close enough that the bum is almost touching the radiator, which is great. If you don't draw the hip in first, I'll just show you again. If you don't do this initial step of getting as close as you can with one side to the radiator, you'll just be that little bit further away, it's not quite as comfortable. So finding your way now, either into your wide angle forward fold, or into your legs up against the wall variation. So if this feels a little bit too much, having the legs wide, you can always keep them just together in the center as well, that's fine. So we're getting the benefit here of coming into an inverted pose, or also just letting gravity help drain our lymphatic system, which also has a very relaxing and restorative effect on the body. So I'm going to take the hands to rest on the belly. We're only going to be here for a few moments. If you do have the luxury of staying a minute or two longer, then please do be my guest and stay here. So I want to take formal Shavasana today. This will be our final pose in class. So just making sure the shoulders feel nice and broad wherever you are. Trying to relax the muscles in the face. Just relaxing all the extra muscles through the body too. So making sure the arms feel relaxed. The hips are relaxed too. And then just being aware of the breath. So if you're in your legs up against the wall position, I'm just going to feel the rise and the fall of the belly on the hands. So you're not holding any control on the breath anymore. Just watching the breath go in its own natural rhythm. And as you're here, you may feel over time, you can take the feet a little bit wider. Equally, if your feet start to feel a little bit numb or you're a bit uncomfortable, you can always draw the soles of the feet together, taking them really low down towards the bum. That's another nice variation here. So there's always lots of positions to play with. I'm just going to be here for about 30 more seconds before coming to finish our class. Remember, if you can stay longer, you're always welcome to. This is a lovely pose to come to if you find you're feeling a bit stressed at the end of the day or something. Just take 5 minutes here, listen to a nice relaxed song, and come out the other side. Maybe not quite a fully different person, but hopefully with a new sense of clarity and relaxation. And then when you're ready, we're just going to give the toes a little wiggle, remind us of where we are and coming out of our pose. So if you're in a wide angle forward fold on the floor, then you're just going to draw yourself back towards center and come to lie on your back. If your legs are up against the wall, we're just going to draw the feet in so the soles of the feet touch. And I'm going to draw the knees towards us, and we're going to roll onto one side. And again, just come to lie on our backs for a moment here too. I'm just finding a comfortable position on the mat. Let's take the arms up overhead. Nice deep inhale, coming into a full body stretch. And then exhaling, just letting the hands go, coming down the sides of the body. We're going to roll over to one side and just take a moment to rest here. And then slowly coming back up towards center, drawing the legs underneath you. Gently rocking left and right on the sit bones, going tall through the spine, lifting the shoulders up, back and down. Drawing the hands into prayer and gently bowing the head. Namaste.